Hello, everybody. This is Artist Miner. Welcome to a Harry Potter tier list, or I like to say, a Wizarding World movie tier list. Yes, we're going to talk about not just the Harry Potter movies, but the Fantastic Beasts as well. Now, obviously, it's just the movies. Now, I wish there was more movies so we can do this list, but I'm also going to talk about what they should be doing with this world that a certain woman who I don't support her, what she said about, yes, I'm talking about J.K. Rowling. I don't support her transgender stuff, where she said, obviously, I don't support that. And, like I said, I support, however, I don't support her and her views, but I do love the franchise she created. That's all I want to say. That's the only good thing that she's ever done, is create a franchise that she created. Is the only good thing that she ever did. But other than that, let's begin. So we're gonna start off with the first movie of its franchise, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or I like to call it the Sorcerer's Stone, because I grew up watching this movie, and for me, this is not. It's legendary for what it is. The first movie is, well, I mean, I remember some of the things in this movie, like, for instance, Harry's first encounter with with Voldemort, and making it as if Snape was the villain, which he wasn't. He was never really a villain to begin with. He was always a good character in my eyes. Like, he's a great character. And I actually like Snape a lot. I'm going to tell you that. But this movie, I'm probably going to give it an A, because it was the first of its kind. I'm not going to give it... I'm not going to give it a B. I'm not going to give it a C. I think it's just A. And honestly, for me, it's kind of explanatory, like, why it belongs there. It kind of just introduced us to the world that she created, but it's also showing us everything. Now, no, some of these movies don't have every single thing that's been said in the book, or at least talked about in the book, or, like, there's been some characters that have been removed. There's been characters that have been added because of the films. You know, honestly, there's just a whole lot. But now, obviously, got Chamber of Secrets, which I remember this movie, and then it was basically we didn't really know that Harry destroyed a Horcrux until much later in the series, because we didn't realize that Tom Riddle's book was just like, well, a Horcrux. But it got really interesting to know about who Lord Voldemort was, and the fact that we end up learning who his identity is. It kind of interests me as well. And you're just going back to the 40s. You're going back during that time where Tom Riddle was literally in Hogwarts. And yeah, Tom Riddle's, we learned how much of a bad person he has become. But honestly, this movie, I actually like this movie too. I liked when he fights the basilisk at the end of it, to save Ginny, which makes sense. I mean, like, it's obviously, for me, it's a solid B. I think, like, in terms of, like, everything else, like, obviously the Quidditch stuff is, like, the best part of the first two movies as well, but still. Prisoner Azkaban is, to me, and You're a Wizard. Everything about this movie is fantastic. I know it's really good, and it started to make the movies darker than the first two. Like, it was darker than the first two movies. I like the story and how it doesn't involve Voldemort. It instead involves Harry's one of Harry's relatives, his godfather. Well, technically his godfather, I don't know if he's a relative or whatever. I don't remember. Sirius Black. Sirius Black is very interesting. He wasn't. He was. It's an interesting plot where he's been accused of, you know, basically things. Obviously being accused of revealing the location of where Harry's parents were, and but he wasn't the one, and said it was one of Harry's dad's other friends who betrayed him, and and that's Peter Pettigrew, who was the one that is what got exposed the location to Voldemort, and that's what led to his parents dying, getting killed. And for me, it's such a fucking interesting thing because obviously it made Sirius Black innocent, unfortunately, and yeah, I feel bad for the character. And they use a time travel, for fuck's sake. That's like the best part, is they went back in time and they just said okay, and then they used the time turner again in a movie that doesn't even feel like it counts as another movie, because obviously I'm talking about the Cursed Child. Obviously we know how that book turned out, and how um, people's reception and review of it. I mean, everybody hated it. I understand it's not the best story. They could have done it differently. Um, I'm now doing this because of Hogwarts Legacy that's out and everything. Um, people are in their Harry Potter crazes, or basically whatever, and Hogwarts crazes. It's kind of great, funny. Um, and then we get into, I think, I'm gonna put a Goblet of Fire at C, and it's because I learned that Goblet of Fire was one of the longest books in Harry Potter, apparently, out of its entire series. Now, obviously, the film could have had a part two, but I understand that couldn't work. So for me, this movie is just kind of like not really a fan of it. It really just wasn't my favorite one, to be honest. The only good part of it is like basically when Harry's fighting against Lord Voldemort, for me, and yeah, but there's a few things that were interesting, like disguising potion, which is nice. Also, don't forget that the reason why it's a C and it's not like in Azkaban is because, or in trash, like I call it, is because there's also an actor that's in this movie that went on to play the Doctor in Doctor Who, David Tennant, who was Barty Crouch Jr., I think. Pretty interesting fact that I didn't know. Now we obviously get to Order of the Phoenix. Order of the Phoenix kind of had there was some. It was interesting that there was an Order of the Phoenix. Like there was a group of people that includes Harry's dad, who was actually an asshole, who was an asshole to Snake, and yeah, he was a complete dick. But yeah, because I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks for Snape. He got bullied a lot, and yeah, sucked for him, man. I liked Snape. That's why I liked him so much, is I felt really bad for him as a character, for like because he didn't deserve these things. Although he was a double agent that. I know I'm saying some spoilers in this, so if you haven't watched Harry Potter, do not watch this video. Do not. But anyways, Snape was a double agent that worked for Dumbledore, and obviously he worked for Voldemort too. But the thing is that his loyalty was always to Voldemort. Not Voldemort. Sorry, I mean Dumbledore. I always mix those two up sometimes. I'm like, what allegiance was he in, really? But it was Dumbledore. He was always loyal to Dumbledore. So it'd be very interesting if they ever made a Severus Snape movie with Adam Driver in it, which makes sense because if you have to do a young Severus Snape, you have to do Adam Driver, because Adam Driver makes total fucking sense. Though he's an American, so you can't really. I don't know how he can do like a British accent, but he has the looks of Snape though. That's the only thing. So okay, so I'm gonna probably put this movie, but this movie we see the death of Sirius Black. We see Bella Lestrange, Bellatrix Lestrange for the first time. We see basically Dumbledore fighting basically fucking Voldemort, which is fucking amazing. Which is one of the fucking greatest duels ever. And obviously our introduction to the Ministry of Magic, which is great. It probably goes an A. I liked some of the things in this movie. I also liked that the Order of the Phoenix had a secret hideout, which is amazing. And it's pretty cool. I mean, and obviously we see like what's about to come in the next movie, the next future movies where, even though we're like wondering why we're seeing Voldemort like with Harry and shit. It's like in Harry and stuff like that. And then we realized that he was also the Horcrux that Voldemort never didn't know that he created. Because Voldemort didn't know he created a Horcrux, which is Harry, and part of his soul wasn't Harry. So the one living thing. And it's kind of funny that Harry killed him. And he died by basically becoming Ash, and that was it. I might explain more of it. Half-Blood Prince is basically the introduction of Horcruxes because it really like it's a really good defining thing about it. We see more like things about this movie. We learn more about Tom Riddle and Professor Slughorn. We learn about Slughorn as well. We first learn, and it's interesting that Voldemort learns about Horcruxes, and then he ends up deciding I'm going to create a bunch of them, creating like 7 or whatever, or how many, I don't know. It's like 7 or 8. I don't. Yeah, dude was trying to become immortal, and I understand. And we end up learning about Dumbledore's about Tom Riddle's backstory, basically Lord Voldemort's backstory, and the fact that there was a lot of, and I liked the scenes. I liked the idea of seeing like basically Dumbledore and Harry trying to hunt down a Horcrux that turned out to be a fake, but obviously it was a good movie, and in my rights, not. For me, it also really showed what really the saddest part about this movie is the fact that Dumbledore died. Dumbledore died so horribly, and it is just a shame. He had to die because Snape wanted him to, and it's really just it's so brutal that Snape. Snape had to do it because he obviously had to, and we see what happened with Dumbledore's hand because he had a Horcrux too. He was looking for another one. Part 1 is obviously about hunting down Horcruxes and Dobby, but I'm gonna put it in a B because I don't know what to say about it. And obviously the 3 characters are always on the fucking run anyways, so they're on the run in this one. But they're also hunting Horcruxes, and we see some weird shit in this one, in the part 1. Because in part 1 of Deathly Hallows, we do see like how weird it is for like we see what Ron's going through. It's like, oh my god. But obviously the Half-Blood Prince also had a lot of romance too. It had some romance in there too. But I know it gets an A because of several things like the duels and stuff, and basically, the death of Dumbledore was really tragic. That was actually the best part as well. And I kind of remember a few things from the movies, but then we got part 2, which I think is also one of my favorites. I'm gonna say part 2 was good. Part 2 is memorable for a lot of things, like the death of a lot of characters, the Battle of Hogwarts, which is the best part of the series ever. It really is. I actually like it. Like, oh my god, you can't imagine. I mean, I did forget talking about the second movie and it's the flying car, which you never get to see again, which is kind of sad. And obviously the tree that they had to go into in the third movie. But obviously, this movie had. It was great to see the finale. Like, it was one of the best stuff ever, hands down. Voldemort versus Harry Potter was great. This duel that Harry and Voldemort had was good. Obviously, like in part one, they did introduce like the oh yeah, I forgot to talk about this, where they introduced like the three Deathly Hallows stuff, like the three things, like the Elder Wand, which has been shown before, and the Invisibility Cloak, and then also we got the Resurrection Stone, which I'm pretty sure is the Philosopher's Stone. I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean that's basically all the movies, but and then we got these movies. Okay, so I've heard that this is probably the worst movie. It's in Azkaban. I will still watch them. I will watch them. I watched the first movie already, but I still haven't seen the other two. And I know this movie isn't good either, so it's gonna go in there too. Because I know it's pretty bad. And then this movie is about basically Newt. It's basically Newt's trilogy, except that it hasn't worked out very well. And they should probably make new ideas, probably. And I'm gonna put this movie at a C because it was not bad, but I mean, yeah. I don't know much to explain this movie because some of the things in that movie are just unforgettable. But it does introduce the American version of the wizard world, I guess, and I mean that's a good thing. But that's about it. I mean, but there's these other ideas that I thought about for the Harry Potter franchise, and I think that if I mean not Harry Potter franchise, the Wizarding World franchise that it's now called, I think they needed to start doing is now Hogwarts Legacy is a success in my opinion, but what they need to do is make a few more films. I think like I talked about how they should do a young Snape film, but they should also do the Harry Potter. So they did talk about the founders of Hogwarts as well, but there's not a lot of backstory on them, and I think that's kind of unfortunate how they got together and stuff. Besides, like I think Godric and I think Salazar, being best friends in their youth. But the thing is like, but so is the Hella and I mean the Ravenclaw woman and the Hufflepuff woman. They were friends too, but it'd be nice if how they all got together and fought a huge ass enemy that was in the area of building Hogwarts. You imagine you fought a dragon in that movie, and you're fighting it in order to gain that ground of Hogwarts and what Hogwarts was, because Hogwarts was built like on a mountain or something. I don't know, or a hill or whatever. But the idea of having a dragon versus the founders makes total fucking sense, or something that can go along with that idea. So, because I'm talking about the founders of Hogwarts, I'm talking about how they came to be, and it makes sense. Like, and you could do them when they were younger too, as well. Stories of them when they were young, in the movie. Which I'm coming up with these ideas. I don't know why. That, for some reason, why can't they just do these kind of ideas where they use characters that they haven't used yet, and they should be using them. Like, what if they use the founders of Hogwarts, make a movie about them, and then you have it'd be perfect. It makes sense. You could even do a movie on Dumbledore himself. Oh wait, we can't because he's already been used like so many times, right? So you don't have to use Dumbledore. You can use some other character that we don't even know of. We don't much know about. Like the Gaunt family hasn't been used a lot, though I know how disgusting that the whole family incest thing, yeah. But it'd be interesting to know about these movies because I'm even saying it. So, like I further said, hope you guys enjoyed this Harry Potter, uh, Wizarding World tier list video, or Fantastic Beasts, and I'll see you guys for more videos like this that I'm gonna be doing.